Welcome back to Your Financial Independence, where we're always trying to grow your financial independence. So, didn't find that much news. I'm recording this on a Sunday, so we don't have anything stock related. But another little kind of spin-off that I want to start doing is doing the Millennial Money reviews and give kind of like my input, what I would do in that situation. So, living on $83,000 a year in Hawaii. Let's get this going.
I feel that money is very hard to come by, especially living in Hawaii. It's not all sandy beaches and coconuts. It's really hard to live here.
$83,000 a year ain't that bad.
My name is Shayla Marie Mae. I'm 28 years old.
I'm Matthew Pi'inaya Ishii. I am 33 years old.
Together we have two daughters, Sienna Belle and Sierra Jane.
Together we make about $83,000 a year.
We live on the Big Island of Hawaii in Hilo. I started a new job about a week ago. I'm making $16 an hour, $33,000 a year. I understand how...
Yeah, $16 an hour, that is kind of a lower income. You're lower than the median wage. So the median wage, you're looking at about $17.93 an hour. And if you work a 40-hour week throughout the year, that comes out to about $37,294 per year. So she is slightly below the median income, but he actually has a pretty decent job and pretty good growth from that job that he can expect over the years.
Hard it is to pay for childcare. If I wasn't working, we wouldn't be able to pay for childcare. I would be a stay-at-home mom forever. You really have to be working two jobs in a household to send your children to school.
That's very true. So United States average per child, you're going to be spending about $10,000 a year for childcare Monday through Friday, assuming that's $10,000 a year. Childcare is very expensive.
As a concrete foreman, I earn about $25 an hour. It could go up to about $80 an hour. I form, tie steel, and placement of concrete down to finishing the concrete.
That's a really good trade. He's got a lot of, and that's one of those things that'll always be around as we go into the future.
As of right now, the way that we live paycheck to paycheck, it's hard to make it by. We make enough to cover our expenses and our bills and essentials, but we don't.
I would say everything right here fits in place. I know the cost of living is a little bit higher in Hawaii, and for $1,250 a month, what I can see from their house is pretty average. Child support, he'll get into that later. He has to pay child support from a previous marriage. Their food is really low, $600 a month for two children. Me and my wife spend about $650 a month for me and her. We do love food, that's why. Utilities is good. Phones, that's one thing he could definitely, or whoever controls the phone billing, I don't know if it's him or her, but you could definitely knock $50 off of that. $300, I mean, assuming their children are so small that I assume they don't have phones. Yeah, I think they're 3 years old. But one thing, for two phones, you could definitely knock off $50 off of that phone bill.
Make enough to move forward and move ahead in life.
Make sure my family has a roof over their head, clothes, and food.
Because I was a stay-at-home mom for the past year, I let Matthew know what we needed. And by that, Matthew would budget based off of his weekly income.
Food is a priority, whether we have enough or we're gonna borrow from my mother.
That's how they're getting their food for so cheap. They're actually going to these local markets and stuff. That's a good idea. Very good idea.
Have enough.
My contribute to the household would be taking on my car payment again, being able to put money towards our rent and utilities, being able to help pay off my credit card debts, and being able to save a little bit more money and put it on the side. Are you working?
Huh?
What are you making, letters? Making letters, good job. We started dating in 2012. And as of 2017, we had our 2 girls, Sienna and Sierra. Being pregnant came as a shock. I had a 50-50 chance of ever getting pregnant, so we stopped trying, and we ended up finding out that we were pregnant. A week later, we found out that we were having twins, and it came as a very big...
What a curveball to get thrown at you. You probably won't ever get pregnant in your life, and then you get hit. A week later, you're going to have twins. That's a big curveball, financially and like their life in general.
Financially, they're 3 years old now, and they have completely different personalities.
I do want to say that's a good curveball, though. If you're wanting children and you have children, that's always a good thing. Don't want to get it twisted.
Is very much a showgirl, and the other one is very headstrong, and she's my tomboy. Sending the twins to school is about $1,400 a month. It's $700 per child at the preschool that they are attending, and we do not pay this out of pocket. It was a blessing that we were able to.
That's very good, because that would be more than their rent. That would be a very high expense. That would be their highest expense out of their budget if they had to pay for that. That's really expensive for preschool.
Funding.
Oh, you miss. Again. Oh, you miss. Bye-bye.
I have $2,300 in credit card debt. The credit card debt came from being able to pay extra expenses if we didn't have the finances to cover our monthly bills. So our credit card debt.
That's what I would be focusing on. After you get all your children paid for, like what they need to have, your rent, like whatever income you have extra, that's what I would be focusing on. Because, I mean, the average credit card, you're talking about like a 20% interest rate. That money's going to add on a lot faster than you can pay it off if you ain't paying it off, and it's snowballing itself. Kind of like investing does, the snowball effect.
Came from either having to buy last-minute items of food and gas. Matthew and I are engaged, but because of his prior relationship.
Okay, I know you want luxuries in life and stuff like that, but I would have to have a reason to have that ATV, four-wheeler, whatever you want to call it, whenever they have credit card debt and they're kind of struggling financially. Like, there would have to be some kind of reason why you need that in your life.
He does have children with his previous relationship, and he has back child support. So because of this, we're not getting married, because once we get married, we become one person, and I will start paying his child support as well.
That's a hard. There's stuck in between a rock and a hard place on that one. I am curious to see why he can't see his kids, why he has to video call them, that he's about to state here in a second. I've watched through this before posting the video, but I am curious to see why he can't see them in person. It's kind of a little weird.
Then once in a while, when they go and visit my mother at her house, she'll call me on Facebook Live or call me over the phone, where I'll be able to either speak to them or see them. Before they moved to Washington, it used to be like every other weekend that they would be at my mom's house. But now, since they moved, it's only when they come back to visit Hawaii.
That's a really big gap. Saving anywhere from nothing to 150. I would set aside like $250 a week for expenses that come out of nowhere or something like that, and like make a plan. Just make some kind of plan, like where are you putting this money. Don't just have it in a checking or savings account, because that's not going to grow it at all. At least invest it in the S&P 500 or something like that. Like set that money aside to where you can't use it after you get your credit cards paid off, and then have an emergency fund. That way, that's what an emergency fund is used for. That way you don't have to go out there and get credit cards, stuff like that. So you got to set up more is what I'm trying to get at. But everybody has their issues. Like everybody goes through their financial struggles at times. So I mean, they probably called him at a bad moment.
If something comes at us, like the car needs to be fixed or tires need to be replaced, then that comes right out of the savings again. And the last time I looked, it was about $700 is in my account right now.
So I do have a savings account that we try to put money into. It's not a set amount that we try to save every week or every month. But when we do get some extra income, I try to save it. The amount that we have in my savings account right now is $20. And that's just to keep my savings account open.
So yeah, they don't have any emergency fund at all. So I keep saying it, that credit card is going to be one of the most important things to get paid off after they have all their expenses paid for the month. And one of those $1,500 months, like they just said, their savings is $0 to $1,500. If you have 1 month where you can save $1,500, pay off that entire credit card. Or I think she said she had a little bit over $2,000 of debt on it. So at least get most of it paid off.
My mother and father were always working, trying to make enough to support all of us. I am an only child, but as we were growing up, my parents took in my mother's siblings' children. We fostered them up until they were all around the teenage age and were able to go back to their parents. We didn't have a lot of money to do other things like leave the island or vacation. Most of the families here go to Kona on the other side of the island. They have a weekend vacation, they have a staycation, or they go to Disneyland. Most families do that with younger children, but we just didn't have the funds to do that. With having that experience as my childhood, I try to give my children everything that I didn't have. But growing up,
that is one good thing. You always, even if you had great parents, I was lucky enough to have really great parents, but you want to better yourself. Like you want to raise your children even better. That way, whenever they have kids, they even raise them better. Like that's what my goal is, at least.
Everything that I needed, and I try to give that to my children. We were hoping to own a home by now, but because of the way that we live and how much we make, we made too much for self-help housing, which is a housing program that helps Native Hawaiians. And we made too much for the household income for that, and we made too little for a home loan.
Some other states that I've been looking around at just to compare prices, they're way cheaper for something that's not even comparable.
And that's why so many people from Hawaii are moving out of state. So we made a goal for the next 5 years to save money and try to move out of state. It's not all sandy beaches and coconuts, what you see on TV, in magazines, social media. It's really hard to live here.
As far as the girls, try to send them off to college and get them a good education. Everything we pretty much do nowadays is based off of these two girls and make sure they grow up to have a bright future and a better education.
So that's one thing that I want to hit on. You're going to have to balance. If you do want to get a house, if you want to start saving up really heavy now for their education, some kind of education program that you can start saving towards. So if you were to take, I don't know, say $100 a month, they're 3, so they have 15 years until they have to do college. So $100 a month for 15 years in an index fund, just anything that averages about 8% that's been going up the past 100 years, that's going to come out to about $34,000 whenever they need to go to college. And on top of that, you can get scholarships. If they're really smart and they test good on their ACTs, or at least one of them, they could get a full ride. So that $34,000 then could go to the other one that didn't, or that maybe is trying to do a trade program or something like that. So you're going to have to balance getting a home, saving up for your children's college tuition, all that good stuff. So I hope this gave a good breakdown of millennial money, and catch me back on the next video.